we don't want to say that this is all about building passive houses. Yeah. Because at the end, we just want people to build better and we want to provide insights out there. So I guess that was a really important thing you touched on is what I've tried to explain to a lot of people from my learnings as well is you're not going to achieve all of this overnight. Yep. It's baby steps. G'day guys, and welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to the Build Insite Podcast. So today, continuing the theme in this little mini-series, we are live from the Circus Studio in Port Melbourne at the Bowens Hardware store. We've got a all-star lineup here. We've got a builders panel today. So I'll start from the opposite end of the table. I've got my co-host Dean from Backman Builders, also co-founder, co-host of Build Insite. Next along, we've got Matt from Elevate, Rob from EVO Built, and Sam from Built by Hammond. Guys, I'm going to pass it over to you guys. Obviously, I've told everyone your names, but just give everyone a little bit of an insight on who you are and what you do. Start over, Matty.
Yeah, thanks, mate. So, custom home builder. Been in the industry for the better part of 15 years now. Been domestic builder for 7 now. So, in the domestic reno extension space. And, loving it.
Yep, carpenter come through, become builder.
So I earned my stripes as a carpenter. And came registered about 7 years ago. So
awesome.
It's good.
Rob?
Very similar to Matty, but started off as a plasterer and didn't really like that. After 6 years of getting dirty, thought I'd be a chippy. Done another apprenticeship, become a builder. Met a few of these boys previously. And, just trying to build custom homes that are healthy and going down the passive route. So energy performance and stuff.
So you're a qualified plasterer and qualified chippy.
Don't tell anyone that.
Dual trade superstar.
Dual trade. There you go.
Robbie, haven't we seen you tiling on your socials as well, mate? You're like one of these jack of all unicorn trades.
That's at my house. You
want to come work for me, mate?
Oh, that's a big commitment. 8 years of an apprenticeship.
Yeah, it was a bit rough, but worth it. Definitely.
Yep.
Love building, and it's taken me down this path.
Awesome. Sam?
Sam from Built by Hammond. So down Point Lonsdale, below Geelong on the Bellarine Peninsula. Owner and director of Built by Hammond. We specialise in the custom architectural space as well, covering reno, extension, new builds down there. So beautiful spot overlooking the entrance to Port Phillip Bay. Originally from the country and moved down there about 12 years ago to start my building journey. So yeah,
very good.
Yeah, look, you've got some smooth operators on the camera here between these three lads as well. So, boys, I really want to unravel the many hats we wear as builders because I think it's a good opportunity with all the five of us sitting here as a builders panel. But I think firstly, a lot of talk of sustainability and energy efficiency in the industry right now. What are each and collectively are you doing with your businesses to really combat it, get ahead of the game? Change of times with the building industry.
You're the passive superstar, mate.
Don't jump at once.
Not yet.
We've recently actually kind of dabbled into a bit more of the design and build space as well, which has been exciting and challenging. I think a bit like your first few builds you learn a lot of lessons. Similarly, in the first few design and builds, there's always a lot of growth and a lot of learning taken from them. And we're really trying to angle towards well-designed, considered homes that really do capitalise on being energy efficient, good use of sustainable materials, and that look striking, look fabulous too. So,
yeah, and Robbie, obviously, mate, you're in the middle here, centre of attention. But with what you guys are doing, I actually love watching you doing from afar because you've clearly been doing with EVO Built. You're showcasing what education you're putting your team through and yourself, getting out there and really pushing the envelope like a lot of builders in the country, trying to catch up with the times, mate. So what's about yourself with the journey, mate? Passive House was the first part of the story for you, and how's that tracking out for you?
Difficult. I think the biggest part is the best bit about Passive House is it's the bones of the structure, and it's hard to sort of show to a client we're going to build the bones of the structure high quality because they can't actually see that return until 10 years down the track. So you quite a job and you'll be 5-10% or something over the next builder, but you've built the structure really well. If that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's hard to, I suppose, get that across to clients, but we've just got to the point where we're going to use these kind of products, take it or leave it.
Yep.
And we're going to make sure that we build your house to last, I suppose, 50 years.
Your
rather than 5
non-negotiables
years.
in there for your client process. Yeah.
And we do like 3D modeling for our estimates, and we've got like this model of like the passive house construction method we got it off Devon, who you've got up next.
Yep.
One of our apprentices built the model, so we've got that to sit there when the clients come in. We're like, this is how we're going to wrap your house. This is how it's going to be thermally efficient. This is the extra detail we're going to go to. And majority of the time they'll turn around and go, that's what I want. But a lot of people are more visual.
Yeah.
So it's harder to sort of put that on paper. They just see, oh, you're 50 grand dearer over $1 million build.
Yeah.
But if you can visually show them and walk them through it, then I suppose they're more acceptable to go, yeah, I want my house to last.
It's been able to
50
justify
years.
the benefit.
Yeah.
That way,
Yeah. Which is a hard part, but yeah, it's all part of the challenge.
I'm all for it. The issue is our clients and our pool of designers aren't from that space. So I'm almost intercepting the project further down the line. In a roundabout way, it's almost too far gone. So that's what the difficult position that I'm in at the moment. I'm trying to massage it and skew it back to build better, because all my carpenters, they're all for it. So
It's not something you can implement late in the piece too.
That's
It needs to be
definitely-
well
No,
planned
it's-
for and designed into it.
it's definitely not.
Early engagement is the key point, isn't it? Because
Massively.
it's so hard to,
Reverse
quote, unquote,
engineer it.
But
bolt
also,
on these techniques.
Matty, do you, I suppose, with your history and experience with being on the block and yourself too, Robbie, have you found that with your clients approaching you that they've maybe come to you because they've seen you, they see that type of build you've been involved with and displayed? Is there more, in a way, more work for you to do in the beginning to kind of get that extra education out?
I hear what you're saying. It's certainly a double-edged sword in terms of the exposure, but then I sort of get lumped in that category. Not that I don't want to be in that category, but I'm sort of trying to blend the two. But at the same time, it's like, well, I've got to keep the lights on in terms of business, and I've got a team of 10, so I've got to make sure that the boys are keeping busy. So I don't have that funnel. I'm not in the passive home space yet. So it will probably happen, but I'm in that interim stage where I'm very much trying to bridge the gap.
I think that's actually a really, really important thing before we sort of venture too far from it. What you mentioned there about, you're trying to keep the lights on as well. We don't want to obviously continue the trend on this podcast. We don't want to say that this is all about building passive houses, because at the end, we just want people to build better and we want to provide insights out there. So I guess that was a really important thing you touched on, is what I've tried to explain to a lot of people from my learnings as well is you're not going to achieve all of this overnight. It's baby steps. It's even if you do like the next job, you use a different cladding or you use a different type of windows or something like that. As long as you're slowly doing a little bit better each time, like you're not expected to do it overnight. So I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they get too overwhelmed with it, trying to implement it all at once. And that can be a recipe for disaster from time to time. So that's a really good point to
even
bring
little
up.
steps. Like we've got a 1880s Reno extension in Osborne Street, and we've pulled it apart and piecing it back together. I took it upon myself to do counterbattens, putting Mento on the roof.
Yep.
The clients had no idea what Mento was, but I did, and I wanted to. So in terms of a cost thing, that's worn by me, but it's about trying to build better. And I think I'm in that position. And as I said, bridge the gap.
We did the same thing, Matty, on our first time we used ProClimber a few years ago. Look, we didn't know exactly how much it was going to cost difference-wise because we hadn't worked with it before. After we'd finished it, we worked out it ended up being a 10 grand investment for us that we paid for. But the one thing that was worthwhile that you can never replace is the upskilling of the practice our tradies, our chippies got to get the sparkies in and show them, hey, this is a protrusion. Stop just cutting big holes in and run your cables wherever you like.
Right.
And did you find the I guess pride they have in that as well?
Yeah,
They all see that, we're putting more effort into. I had the exact same situation. We went to Pro Climber wraps, counterbattens, hadn't quoted it, but I said, boys, this is how we're building houses now.
Yep.
And they're like,
Sammy, I reckon our guys
buy-in.
would probably come down to Bowens, put ProClimber on our account and use it anyway if it wasn't on site. So, and look, there's plenty of other products out there that are amazing, but I think from a system point of view, it's there and it's tested and trialed, so which is fantastic.
Our Dean obviously just brought up the fact that you two blokes have been on the block. bit of TV exposure there. How's the experience of working on a TV show like that? How does that compare to real world building? And is there a bit of a misconception that people get about it?
You want to throw one under the bus? I think that one of the big things that's repetitive for me is the expectation from a client. After seeing that, they'll watch an episode, they'll do a room, and it'll be like, oh, bathroom week. These guys have spent 23 grand on the bathroom, but it's like that's 23 grand just in labour because they get tiles for free, Velux skylights for free, fixtures, fittings for free. So it's painting that picture that you can get this fabulous, huge bathroom, magical skylights for this ridiculous budget. And I think that's probably the worst part is just reverse engineering that, because then you've got to say, okay, well, let's quote your job. Yep. What's your budget? They're like, 30 grand max. And you do a quote for them, and then you're like, it's miles out. So I suppose that's probably the worst part.
But I saw you do it on the block for that.
Yeah. And in 2 weeks, whatever it is. But I suppose it shoots you in the foot time-wise as well as budget. Yeah. So just educating them on the difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just aligning the expectation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I always say, like, sound like a broken record, but the onus is on the viewer, like maths, not real love. You know what I mean? So when they're creating a TV show around building is the basis, but at the same time, like, you got to zoom out on the whole scenario. It's unrealistic budget. So
they've done that on purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the onus is on the viewer to be able to zoom out and go, okay, I'll pick the inspo, I'll pick the ideas, and I'll pick maybe not the build practice out of it, but so that's the first things to take away. But like for any trades or anyone that's been involved, even contestants, like immerse yourself in that environment, tight pipelines, tight budgets. You start pulling those levers and pushing those buttons. It's more the personal growth.
Great takeaway.
Yeah, I definitely don't regret it. Like Matty was saying, it's good experience.
Yeah.
Like I definitely wouldn't put my hand up and do it again. And it's just been difficult, I suppose. But yeah, you come out of it, I think, a lot more centered, and you know what you're doing.
It's just about perspective,
Put you to
really.
the test, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're talking to a client that might have watched it or a tradie out there, is there anything that the general public don't get to see that you'd experience that you could put into reflection compared to your normal day-to-day businesses? You guys are real builders. You're not just TV personalities when you're on there. You're actually real builders, real chippies, living and breathing that.
I mean, like, the timelines are legit. The producers probably don't show the trades. I know Robbie and I were probably there walking back to our cars at 3 a.m. with our eyes hanging out of our heads because, like, we'd done a string of weeks of insane hours.
I think a good segue now actually is to, because obviously, Sam, you haven't been on the block.
No.
But I reckon you've got your own little superstar segment on Instagram as well. I was doing a bit of a scroll the other day and I come across the Chippy Olympics.
Yeah, we got the Chippy Olympics going. We got the boys together. It's a brainchild of Mango Media, Ed. He does our socials. We like to have a bit of fun on site. Got a really good team that we have, and we thought, what can we do to kind of get out there a little bit of the the entertainment factor that we have on site. And the Chippy Olympics come about so far. Boss man who hasn't swung a hammer in I think over 2 years is ahead on the nail medley.
The reason why you're the boss, eh?
Hasn't lost it.
Yeah, haven't lost it still. So no, it's good fun. The aim of it is to just enjoy being with each other and show just the general public and people that may be looking to come work for us what a workplace I feel should be.
Good culture.
You spend more time with the blokes you work with than you do your family and friends sometimes. Like it needs to be a place that you enjoy being. And a couple of my boys hated the Chippy Olympics and were like, get me off camera, I don't want to be there. I'm like, this.
So you forced them to.
Yeah. Just try and hit the nail in. So,
listen, mate, if you want to work for me, you're going to get
The quicker you hit the nail in, the quicker you get off
and
camera.
get out of here. Yeah. So no, it was a bit of fun, and we try and play around a little bit too. And there's another one we had where me little daughter, we were doing some work at our house, and my daughter was about 8 months old, and walking up the driveway, I'm like, oh, bloody nightmare client here.
I thought you were going to say she was on the hammer.
No, she's calling me at 4 a.m. and bloody wants to pull a meeting then, and and cuts to me and Lila having a little tea party on the
Yeah,
front
yeah.
lawn. That was a good one. That kind of, you just got to play
Good
around with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff and show your personality and
Tells your story.
yeah, it's
too.
good.
Yeah,
Good
which
fun.
so I mean that's a big one, guys. Is like culture. We've all got teams that we're working with, and we depend on our teams because without our teams, we're nothing. The piece of paper that we have with your name on it as the builder doesn't mean anything. So, is there some things you personally like to do with your own businesses and teams to keep that culture strong? Start with you, Robbie. What do you think, mate?
Well, it's sort of dived down a different road, I suppose, because we used to have 12 to 15 chippies, and we've been putting on a lot more subcontractors. So we'll get them in to do like a frame package or a fixed package or cladding package. So it sort of changes the direction because we've got to build good relationships with like a full team. So like we might be like, hey, Maddie, can you come and do X amount of package? So then I'd have to have a good relationship with Maddie. So like, yeah, it changes the dynamic of having a lot of team members underneath you to then creating good relationships with your trades, whether it's same as like a plumber, sparky or anything like that. You want to make sure that they're well educated when you're obviously diving down like the passive house route.
Yep.
You got to make sure that they know how to put the Pro Climber on. They're good at putting frames up. They're clean on your fix. And it's just, I suppose relationship
Just that
building.
strong communication too that falls back on you to make sure they're equally a part of the team. Yeah. And I think that's where it's for, subcontractors and contractors is that they are still general part of the team. Like the carpenters are there every day, but if you've got one person that's leaving a pile of rubbish all over the place, it's equally affecting everybody else.
Exactly.
Your culture, I think, starts with your immediate team, but what we've recently gone to is making sure that is the same attitude based on all of our subcontractors and
all your trades.
Whether it be your plasterers or painters or your subby chippies, like you still need the same attitude from them, and you can still build a culture around that too. I think. Yeah,
100%. Like all our work breakups, we'll invite the whole team. Like that includes all of our subcontractors, suppliers, and everything. Like we'll have 65, 70 people at a work breakup because then that builds that camaraderie of the whole team. And I think it just goes to show wonders for the team moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Are you, Matty?
Yeah, I was just thinking it's sort of it extends further than obviously the team culture side of things, but it's with your subcontractors. It's if you're open, transparent, if you're habitual, weekly doing your payroll and invoices or fortnightly, whatever it is, if you make that a priority as a builder, we typically pay every Thursday. If something's happened or we've been pulled out of the office and it doesn't go through, I'll get a couple of messages, emails going, "Hey mate, not sure if you missed my invoice." Like, it's all right. I'm getting to it. I just haven't sat down. But it's like that. They've gotten used to and they've gotten into that comfort of being paid weekly or being paid fortnightly, whatever it may be. So then when they're not, they think something's wrong or they think it's been missed.
Yep. Are you implementing things like a subcontractor agreement that you get them all to sign? Like set the clear expectations for them?
Illegitimate, more of a gentleman's handshake. That counts, doesn't it?
Okay, so Matty's got something to work on.
No, definitely. I mean, my paperwork, could definitely improve. But like we've got the preferred pool of trades, and like me and my painters have been painters for 7 or 8 years, and that's built over time. So it's not pen to paper, but it's a two-way street, and it's definitely an expectation.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to jump in here for a minute, guys, to thank our sponsors, Backman Builders and Calorie Building. Without the support of these businesses, the Build Insite podcast wouldn't be possible. Take a moment to go and show some support for them so they can continue to support us, bringing you the Build Insite podcast.
Sonny, I think you're sort of displaying, mate, what you're doing from a workplace point of view with your team. Seems like there's a lot of fun being had. Mate, if we jump into, you had a really recent experience on site that was probably a bit of a tricky one with a job that you found hit a bit of a wall. Do you want to chat about that, mate? Because I reckon it's a really good one for builders to hear.
It was a challenging situation, and I'm fortunate enough to be in a good community of builders where we can lean on each other for this. But we had an extensive 2-story renovation extension project, stripped it back in the deconstruction stage, and the bloody thing nearly fell over. Like it needed temp bracing put all over it to make it stay there. Top frame moving 3 or 4 inches as you walk around, like terrible.
Is this the house that was to remain?
This was what was going to stay there. Yeah, this was the frame that was there. We had to put steel through it and kind of go up and out. But yeah, I posted a video in the Future Builder chat and kind of just said, boys, who's had experience with something like this? Because I'm scratching my head looking at it.
Help.
And, you know, Dan, you reached out and went, you know, Builder is where the buck stops. Yeah. So worked through that with the client, the architect, the engineer came out, put his hands on his head and went, no, that's not got to go. So pretty challenging situation. 2 years ago, if I had been in that position, I would have stressed me out to levels. But I'm pretty happy with where we are now and the community that we've got around us, that we could go like, look, this is a situation. For me to give you the best result possible, it is to take it down to the stumps. Okay. We're going to then be able to, the client's happy, he can increase the wall height, he gets a better view from his rooftop deck, he's getting these 3 or 4 little add-ons that he couldn't have had otherwise. And, you know, we get to proceed with the project and a really good level of trust with that client. So it's not to say it didn't stress me out at all. I was just scratching my head for a couple of days there thinking, how are we going to get through this? A big part of it was the client had a lot of sentimental attachment to the home. And I'm really big on the client's expectation was to renovate. And I was probably bought into that more than the client himself. So I'm stressed out in my mind that, that we're not going to deliver on the client's expectation and goals with a renovation. And he turned around to me and said, well, we're sentimental, but we're not stupid. If we're going to pull it.
We don't want to blow it over.
If you say pull it down, we pull it down. So, I'm just really lucky to have built a really good amount of trust with those clients and the architect. We've done a few projects together now that, we could get through that like we have, and now we're going to have a much better, much higher performing home and project at the end of it.
I think it tells a story. That's why I wanted to bring that up, mate, because we did have a great chat about it, and it's good to see how you handled it and lent on the community that is there. And I think everyone, we all are a part of building coaching communities and have been down that road. But I think that old way of building, like I think you used to walk down the street, cross paths with other builders and
look the other way.
Whatever, or look the other way, Robbie. Yeah. Whereas it's not like that, and I feel like we all have a duty of care for our clients, and we're dealing with clients who are most of the time spending the biggest chunk of money, the biggest life savings they've ever spent, and most likely ever going to spend. So, that train of thought for most builders be like, but the client might not necessarily be on side. But I think from the builder side of things, you're always going to come from, you want the best outcome for the project.
Yeah.
Not just for the client, but for the structure, like especially with that part of the story, Sammy. But it's so important to have the open dialogue with your tradies, your staff, and especially your clients.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Let's go back a few years, actually. So let's sort of almost back to the start. So what, in the early days, what's something you wish you knew a little bit more clearer in the early days, or maybe a different way that you approach things?
Definitely where that was, I was going to sort of segue there. I love how Tammy was saying I had the community around me to support me. That's how we actually know each other. We met in business coaching.
Yep.
Or you can say we met online, whatever sounds creepier. But
wasn't Hinge.
Like we just, it was like a bunch of like-minded people, and you just automatically resonate with those kind of people. Like we've got a long chat all the time.
That's how we met.
Is it really?
That's how Build Insite started.
Are you kidding? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You guys know it's like it's important to have like-minded people around you. And I love how Sammy said it's like my train of thought previously would have stressed me out, would have made me, whether it's angry or upset, or you go home, you bring that back to your family. It's just like I've seen the growth in you over the past sort of 2 years. It's just like you've really worked on yourself, and it's like, it shows wonders. And the way that he approached that is obviously how the client reciprocates. It's like the client's obviously gone, well, I've put my trust in you. You just do you. You reckon it's going to come down? It's got to come down. And it comes back to just being around like-minded people and doing stuff like this and
I totally agree.
Educating everyone, I suppose.
The growth that we experienced from, even the first 3 months in like Builders Business Black Belts, the last one we were in together, and like it's exponential, the bell curve of growth that you go on when you start either personal development or professional development. And honestly, I don't think our business would be here if we didn't have that, growth period.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, the connections you make, the relationships you build, and the ultimately what you learn from each other. You know, it's great. We can take our lessons that we take from a project and share that with 30, 40 other builders in our current future builder group. And, you know, if that makes someone's life easier, then that's a win.
It's amazing. And I mean, something from my side of things, my first delve into business coaching probably really made me look at myself before business. So I started growing more personally, and it actually got to the point where I was actually like challenging things in my own marriage without realizing. And then it took a little while for me and my wife to go, oh, I've kind of like grown here, but your focus here. At the same time, we'd moved to a country town as well. So I was focused on my self-growth, my business growth, and she's focused on the kids and the family settling and the new friendships, whereas I was like, I ain't got time for that. I'm on my journey. So then you had to bring yourself back to then go, all right, I've worked on that. Now I need to, you know, worry about what's within my four walls. And I think there's always things, you get better at one thing, then you need to adjust and get everything balanced. And it's such a critical point. Like I reckon if I had have gone into some coaching and had group around a table like you lads to bounce ideas off, might still have some hair left on my head, but I left that race a little bit too late. But you know, it is really important. You know, and I think I'd love to get your take, guys, as you know, what you're seeing is the biggest challenges in the industry right now, and how you're using your networking to help guide you through these things.
I think, like us as tradesmen, obviously, a lot of us like to think we're good on the tools and good with problem solving and things like that. Hence why we sort of started our own business. But I think a lot of the time, and it lends into what you guys have said, it's we go through with the blinders on. Like we're good problem solvers, but we do things the way we see is the best solution or whatever we see best fits, right? And without that network and without that support, you're stuck. So I think realistically, being able to have external advice and almost just observe other businesses, not from a jealousy lens, but more of a curiosity. Could I nitpick and take little examples out of the way they're approaching business structure, employees, whether it be cash flow, whether it be marketing, whatever it may be, client relations, and implement it in my business. It's all about growth. Yeah.
Definitely.
And getting rid of that ego.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because you're just expected to do something a certain way. And I remember, I'll try not to swear here.
You go for it, mate. We gave you a microphone. You can do what you want.
like probably, I reckon, 4 or 5 years ago when we're just a carpentry team, we used to have team meetings in my shed, and we're all in the garage, and like, hey, yep, cool, organise this team meeting. We had like 15 of us in the shed. We're all sitting down, and I've sort of walked in, had a bit of an agenda. Like, all right, yep, cool, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, oh, bit of a plot twist. This is all about you being a C on site. And I was like,
well, they bailed you up.
Yeah. And like all for it. Like we were doing business coaching, pretty open-minded about it. So I was just like, I genuinely appreciate the feedback. So I'll take it. Let's go around. And people were just like, I said, look, I want to know this stuff so I can work on myself, because I was very fiery on site. I'd be like, that's got to be done my way or no way at all.
Yep.
And like, that's a shit mentality. So I was just like, you know what? I want this feedback so I can try and stop doing that. And people were like, one of the best parts was, if you can get the same result going about it a different way, there's really no difference, is there? And I was like, oh, true. Yeah, all right. So then I sort of like let the reins go a little bit. And as long as it's good quality and, you know, built correctly, I don't need to have an input. So it was just like, that was one of the things that, we figured out I was just being a bit too fiery.
I think that's the really the only way you're going to let people grow as well, is you let them have a go.
Yeah,
you're spot
100%.
on.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be bloody costly, but
yeah,
you're never going to know someone's true potential if
Sometimes
you micromanage them all the time.
Yeah, just had to let the reins go and worked on myself and just banned myself from site. It was easy.
It's good. It's a really good insight, mate. I think we've found most of our growth as a team has come handing over that control and really leaning into, right, we got younger guys coming through who are going to have a shot at project managing.
Give them the experience.
We do it this way, we always have, but, you know, they can think it through themselves, and they can come up with a way to do it. If we tell them, which we experienced this, we were shocked for it. It had to be bloody either my way or my construction manager's way.
Yep.
There was every other way was wrong. And the more we've grown and the more we've realised, hang on, the boys can actually have a dip at doing it.
More than one way
However
to
they
skin a
want to
cat.
do it. And we've still got a beautiful, home at the end, and it's all worked out. The lessons that they're learning from that, incredible.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that. And we all start, or majority of builders will start out as a carpenter or a carpentry background or plastering, Robbie. But at the end of the day,
that?
well, no, we are, and Tyler. But look, at the end of the day, you can't be a builder and be on site all the time because other things are going to suffer. You're going to have other areas of your business. That's definitely something we're open with our clients about. You might get that question, are you guys on site? Yeah, we are at times, but we're not there all the time because we've got a lot of other things going on that you've experienced in pre-construction. You've got that side of us. So we're through different phases of the business leading elsewhere, and we've got people supporting us. And that's how, in my opinion, we talk about sustainability, but I always talk about sustainability in a sense of a business. You got to run a sustainable business before you actually can worry about just building a sustainable home.
Yep.
Got a little story a few years ago. We were at a client meeting, rocked up about 15 minutes early, and two of my carpenters were on site, and we had a bit of a bay window, gable, EVO overhang. I had this site meeting with the client. Lovely. I got to site about 15 minutes early and rocked up, and the guys were almost finished that gable. That is so far from what I thought we were going to be, how we were going to do it. And I'm just standing there, and I don't want to crush your dream. So I'm just I'll bite my tongue, did a bit of a walk around, made a list, and then came back out the front. The guys were like, how do you reckon it looks? I'm like, and no word of a lie, before I could respond, the client walks off the footpath up the driveway. Oh my God, I love it. And I'm just like,
That's not where I thought this was going.
You're about to cook them.
right. And then I stood there, and Ali, the client, she's like, yeah, it's great, blah, 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 going on about it. And then we kept going, and I'm just like, what happening? And then,
God, for that timing.
anyway, carry on with the meeting. And then I came back out, and I'm sort of looking at it, and I'm like, it's actually, just because it's not the way I would have done it in terms of the transitions and how I've done it previously on another project 3 years ago, there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
It was
same
just
result.
not the way I wanted. And it wasn't wrong. It was just not the way I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
The client loved it. She's the one paying the bills. And fast forward a couple of years, it's an award-winning home. So
So stay off
I'm
site.
right. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's like an anecdotal evidence right there that just because we do things a certain way, one, it's not the only way, and two, it's not necessarily the best way to do it. So play on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be much more costly as well, trying to get people that don't want to do it your way to do it your way. They're not buying into that as well. The more you can let them be in charge of their day, I think the more productive and more enjoyment they have in their job too.
I think that's actually almost a good story to lead into, though. Setting client expectations. How are you guys managing that? Because obviously, communication is a key thing with everything we do, whether it's between builder, designer, homeowner, trades on site, everybody. Without that communication, things are most likely going to go pear-shaped. How are you setting the expectation with your clients so that they're obviously understanding what they're going to get out of your building contract or out of their new home or reno? What are you doing to make sure that everything's
What's that?
That's Siri's running there.
surprise guest?
Didn't want the question.
That's all right.
Sorry, mate.
No, that's all right.
It's on silent.
What
Where are you picking up from?
probably like what you touched on there, Matty, about the clients. Probably a good segue to lead into setting client expectations. It's obviously can be quite costly if those client expectations aren't met straight away. Like they may be interpreting something in a completely different way. Those mistakes can obviously have huge time hold-ups as well as costly from a monetary perspective as well if you need to obviously pull things down or redo it. What are you guys doing as far as setting the client expectations? What management processes are you using to ensure that they know what's expected on their dream homes?
Definitely 3D modelling. That's been our biggest game changer. We get a company, V2E, to do a model through PlusSpec, and you actually build it with the materials that you're building it. So they'll use 9045, they'll use corrugated iron, they'll use the bricks that you're using, and being able to walk through the house with the client. A lot of the time they'll go, oh, I didn't think that was going to look like that. Or like, it's hard for a client to visualize plans in comparison to like a 3D model. So going down that process, it's just good to be able to just go, hey, we're going to pop the roof off and have a quick look inside your bathrooms. This is your tile layout. Oh, I didn't think those tiles were going there. Oh, perfect. Let's change it now before we've even signed a contract. Like that's probably the biggest thing that we've implemented, because it just brings their home to life before they've actually started the build.
Yep. I had not considered that, mate. I knew you were doing V2E for those models. I've probably given it the time of day to think about how many uses that has in pre-construction with the client.
Yeah,
like
it's wild.
At the moment, we're detailing, in our detailed estimate, we try and get quite granular with it, and include from our subcontractors quotes, scope of works from them, like as much information as we can to set the expectation early. That 3D modelling is quite extraordinary.
I'm going to step further with 3D modelling too, because it's not only the clients, that 100% agree, that part of it, but I think there's also trades, and also it might be a young team, or an experienced team who can't visualise. It goes back to that gable end, Matty, where you can actually step through a few of those things. So you can get that set up for the whole build for everybody involved, which I think's fantastic.
I guess something like that as well, it comes back to the whole, like, setting that expectation with the client and educating them that, to do a process like that, obviously there's a fee that comes with it.
Yep.
It's not a free process, but educating them to understand that if you spend this little bit extra money up front now, we can guarantee that everything's ironed out. All your selections are done. Everything works. You know what's to be expected, rather than potentially getting through, halfway through the build and then you got PC sums. They're expecting that, I don't know, maybe your tile allowance was 10 grand, and then they finally go do their selections and like, the tiles are now 15.
Yeah.
Fuck, where do we get the extra 5 grand from?
Yeah.
Or just little things like that, and variation fees and just hold ups like that. So it's educating them in a way that, yes, it may cost you a little bit more up front, but this is actually going to save you thousands as well as time in the long run, because we know everyone on site knows exactly what they're building.
Site meetings, awkward conversation, variation, elements of stress, lying awake at night from the clients not knowing what the guys on site are carrying out.
Stressful. We have this conversation with all of our clients, like slow down at the start so you can speed up once the build happens. Yeah. And actually, I think maybe got the motivation or inspiration from Kyle with their inquiry set out, Zanettos. And one of the questions was like, do you have a ideal time frame when you want to start the project? And I had this conversation setting up our automation CRM the last few weeks, and I'm more inclined, if someone's like, I want to start this house tomorrow or yesterday, I'm more inclined to start thinking whether they're our client, because are they going to want to be thinking, like, I suppose strategically take their time, get it right, or are they going to want to just go get a contract signed and then it becomes a problem later? Because that whole buck stops with the builder. It flows right through selections, because we'll be the ones wearing the time frame when the heat's on to get it done, if we're still trying to figure out where the niches go, Matty, and how we're setting out things.
And all those little details that you're trying to iron out on the fly.
Yeah. And the mindset too, like we're builders, we're not interior designers, we're not the architects.
Yep.
So I want to spell that out to our clients before we kick off, that we'd rather you spend a little bit of money with an interior designer, set a schedule, happy to help them and go through our supply chains and so forth, like heading to Circa where we're sitting now, and get it all spelt out.
Okay, everyone, that concludes part 1 of our chat with Matt, Sam and Rob. Join us next week for part 2 as we wrap up this great chat. Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insite team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insite podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience, and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.